You've felt it in a room full of people. Everyone's talking, laughing, and there's a glass wall between you and all of it. You're right there, and somehow completely outside. Or it's 1 a.m. and your thumb is scrolling and the feeling creeps in anyway. Not sadness exactly, something older. A kind of ache with no clear source. Here's what nobody tells you about that feeling. It is not a weakness. It is not a personality flaw. It is a survival alarm, one that's roughly 2 million years old, and it's going off inside you for exactly the reason it was built to. In 2023, the most powerful doctor in America declared this feeling a public health emergency. And what scientists have learned about why it hurts changes everything about how you should treat it. Let's start with what loneliness actually is, because almost everyone gets this wrong. Loneliness is not the same as being alone. You can spend a weekend completely by yourself and feel nothing but peace. And you can sit at a crowded dinner table and feel like you're starving. Being alone is a fact. Loneliness is a feeling. It's the gap, the distance between the connection you have and the connection you need, which means loneliness isn't measured in people. It's measured in closeness. You can be surrounded and still be on the outside of the circle. And that gap does something to the body that we are only now beginning to understand. In May 2023, the US Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy, released an 81-page advisory. The title was blunt: Our Epidemic of Loneliness and Isolation. Not metaphorically an epidemic. He meant it as a medical one. About half of American adults reported experiencing loneliness. And then came the line that made headlines around the world. The mortality impact of being chronically disconnected is comparable to smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day. Read that again. Not loneliness feels bad, loneliness kills, on the same scale as a pack-a-day habit. And the numbers underneath it are just as cold. A landmark review by researcher Julianne Holt-Lundstad found that loneliness raises your risk of early death by around 26%, and social isolation by 29%. And a separate analysis of more than 180,000 people found that poor social connection is tied to a 29% higher risk of heart disease and a 32% higher risk of stroke. A feeling doing that. To a heart. So here's the real question. How can an emotion, something with no blade, no poison, no impact, physically shorten your life? To answer that, you have to meet the man who spent 20 years asking it. His name was John Cacioppo, a neuroscientist at the University of Chicago. For decades, almost nobody took loneliness seriously as science. It sounded too soft, too much like a diary entry. Cacioppo treated it like biology. He scanned lonely brains. He measured their blood pressure, their stress hormones, their immune cells, even their gene expression. And he arrived at an idea that reframes the entire feeling. Loneliness, Cacioppo argued, is an alarm. The exact same kind of alarm as hunger, thirst, and pain. Think about what hunger really is. It's an unpleasant signal your body fires when it needs food to survive. Thirst, when it needs water. Pain, when your tissue is in danger. None of these are flaws. They're warning systems, built by evolution to keep you alive by making you do something. Loneliness, Cacioppo said, is the warning system for connection. And to understand why your body would treat other people as a survival need, you have to go back to the fire. For almost all of human history, a person alone was a person about to die. Our ancestors survived in groups. They hunted together, shared food, guarded each other's children, kept the fire alive in shifts through the night. Step outside that circle, wander too far from the group, and you became something simple. Prey. The cold got you, or the predators did, or the hunger did. So evolution did something clever and merciless. It made isolation hurt. It wired a signal that fires the moment you drift to the social perimeter, an aching pull that says get back to the others now before it's too late. That signal kept your ancestors alive. Every single one of them, all the way down to you, had it. You are the descendant of people who could not stand being alone. And here's the part that proves it isn't just a metaphor. In 2003, a UCLA scientist named Naomi Eisenberger put people in a brain scanner and had them play a simple online ball tossing game. Then had the other players freeze them out. Excluded, ignored. And she watched what lit up. It was the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, the same region that processes physical pain. Social rejection doesn't just feel like getting hurt. To your brain, it is getting hurt. It runs the pain through the same circuitry as a broken bone. That's not poetry, that's the wiring. Your brain files "they don't want me" right next to "something is damaging my body." because for most of our history, those two things were the same thing. But Cacioppo found something darker still, and this is the twist that makes loneliness so hard to escape. The alarm doesn't just make you crave people, it also makes you afraid of them. When you feel lonely, your brain shifts into a state Cacioppo called hypervigilance for social threat. On the perimeter, alone, your survival depends on not trusting the wrong person. So the lonely brain starts scanning every face for danger. It reads a neutral expression as cold, a short reply as rejection, a pause as proof that you're unwanted. So the lonelier you get, the more your own brain convinces you that reaching out is dangerous. The alarm screaming "Go connect" is the exact same alarm whispering they'll reject you, don't risk it. That's the trap. The cure for loneliness, other people, gets tagged by your own nervous system as the threat. And so you pull back. You cancel. You stay outside the circle, telling yourself it's safer there. And the gap grows. And the alarm gets louder. Now drop that ancient system into the modern world. We live more alone than any humans in history. Single-person households have doubled. People go to fewer gatherings, fewer worship halls, fewer clubs. The Surgeon General found that young people now spend around 70% less time in person with their friends than they did just 2 decades ago. We replaced the firelight with a screen that glows back, but never warms you. The alarm was built for a world where you could see the fire from where you stood and walk back to it. We built a world where the fire is always just out of reach, behind glass, 200 unread messages deep. So the alarm never stops ringing. And we've started treating the alarm itself as the disease. But here's the reframe that changes everything. Your loneliness is not a malfunction. It is the most accurate thing about you. It means the ancient life-saving system is working perfectly. It's telling you the truth, that you are a creature built down to the wiring of your brain to belong to other people. The ache isn't proof that something's wrong with you. It's proof of how deeply you were made to connect. Hunger doesn't mean you're broken. It means you need to eat. Loneliness doesn't mean you're unlovable. It means you need your people, and that you haven't reached them yet. The cruel part is that the same alarm makes the walk back to the fire feel dangerous. So that's the one move it can't make for you. It can scream. It can't take the step. But the circle is still there. It always was. 3 people around a small fire and an empty space beside them that's exactly the shape of you. For 2 million years, that ache pulled your ancestors out of the dark and back toward the light, again and again, because the alternative was death. It's still pulling. The only question it's ever really asking is the oldest one our species has. Are you going to come back to the fire?